welcome back to another episode of Gentlemen Critics. We're going to be talking about Captain America Civil War. Now, we've been anticipating this movie for a long time, and we've sort of been, thinking about it, watching it a bunch of times over this little break we had these last couple months, and I personally have seen the movie 5 times, and I have to say that I just love it. At first, I wasn't sure how much I liked it. They really strayed away from some of the characters I had hoped that they would be true to, but then they did stay true to a lot of characters that I wanted. So it was sort of a mixed bag at first, but got better every single time, which has only happened with a few movies. Spotlight, Star Wars, now I can say Captain America Civil War. There's just movies that get better and better every time you watch them. And I think Civil War is one of those movies. So I really, really liked it. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, the movie was great. One of the best Marvel movies already. Who would have known Captain America movies were going to be this popular and be this good? But then the Russos came, knocked it out of the park.
Ugh, it's a really good point. I mean, really, did any of us anticipate when you look back to 2008 when Incredible Hulk came out and Iron Man? If you really look at that, did we ever think, what the best trilogy of main Avengers is going to be? The Captain America trilogy. Nobody would have guessed that.
Nope.
I don't think any of us anticipated Marvel getting to the level that they're at in general, let alone putting out 3 fantastic movies with Chris Evans starring Captain America. I mean, they've done something that the Iron Man trilogy kind of failed to do in bringing it all together and making it bigger and bigger instead of kind of dropping off like it did.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, went the opposite direction on that one.
Yeah, I mean, Iron Man 1 peaked, and then it just got worse and worse. But
unfortunately.
But Cap kind of did it. It's hard for me because I don't know if I'd say that Civil War is better than Winter Soldier. I don't think it is. I don't think Winter Soldier changed the entire landscape of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It did.
And Civil War kind of did that, but Civil War was more fun, and Captain America Winter Soldier was fun as an added bonus of, how impactful all the events that were happening. There was so much more of a serious tone in Winter Soldier. So
yeah.
So I would say Winter Soldier is still better, but I mean, it's apples and oranges when you're comparing Civil War and like an Iron Man 3. So, it's kind of unfair to look at those two franchises like that.
Yeah.
I'd agree. I've seen Civil War 3 times at this point. It's been a couple of weeks since I saw it the last time, but I would agree with you on that point, Kyle. I still think The Winter Soldier is a better movie all around. But you're right. Civil War had a lot of fun to it. It had a lot of humor, and they made it a little bit more real. Winter Soldier was very, very serious.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse, what was your favorite part of the movie? What was the biggest part of it that made you just go, wow?
I would probably say the airport scene, just because I think it was probably most people's favorite. I mean, well, I don't think I can really say that. That was great, but I have to choose the end and everything that Cap and Tony go through in the very end. Like, so much emotion going into this final fight, and it ended off so crazy and so satisfying. And he can do this all day. He can.
Yeah, so I totally agree. My favorite scene was definitely the end as well. From the moment that Cap, Bucky, Iron Man all walk into the room with the Winter Soldiers, and you see Zemo behind the blast door, and he just says, of course I killed them. Why would I want more of you? I think that's just from that point on, the whole scene fires on all cylinders. It's so emotional. And I really get where Iron Man's coming from because, if I had just seen that video, I would have been an emotional wreck too, and I would have been making very rash and quick decisions. I probably would have did what he did, but it all ended up working out in Cap's favor because, Captain America, he took the most level-headed approach to the situation than, Bucky or Iron Man. Iron Man was emotional. Bucky was, running for his life. Like, I can't kill Tony Stark. You know, I can't really defend myself here. I'm just trying to survive. And Cap, you know, goes into it tactically, like I have to stop him from killing my best friend. So, you know, would you put that together? I think that Iron Man really came out as sort of a loser in that situation, which is interesting. And in comparison, like we were talking about earlier with the films of Captain America, you know, he had a pretty good trilogy, and the end of his trilogy ends with him beating Iron Man, who didn't really have the best trilogy.
Yeah,
So
it's an interesting take on it, and I agree with you. My favorite scene is probably the end scene. That and when Ant-Man becomes Giant Man. It took me by surprise. It did. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting it in maybe Ant-Man and Wasp, but not in Civil War. But that's minor details. I mean, the end of it, like you said, you see Tony react emotionally, you see, and you see Cap act tactically. Now, Tony reacting in such a way is such a real emotion, and I think that helps bring the realism to these characters, which makes that scene so important. Is that people aren't just like, oh, they're badasses who are flying around doing their thing. All of this is real. All of it is so hard on them, and you see that in the last scene. There's a lot of emotion between Cap and Iron Man, especially. Now, do we see more Iron Man after this? Because, like you said, he's defeated at the end of this. He loses. Do we see more of him? There are rumors that Robert Downey Jr. wants to come back and do a fourth one.
I mean, if an Iron Man 4 comes out, I will watch it. But, yeah, I don't know.
well, we know we're gonna see him in Spider-Man: Homecoming. We know we're gonna see him in Infinity Wars. He has expressed interest in doing an Iron Man 4. I honestly would be fine if Robert Downey Jr. just, you know, became sort of a Stan Lee-like guy and, you know, cameoed very frequently in movies. I don't even necessarily need Iron Man to have his own fourth movie. I would like him to continue to make his presence known in the Marvel universe. You know, Iron Man's still here, and he'll be there when you need him to be.
Iron Man's a pivotal character. You can't deny that. So I mean, it is kind of important to keep him there.
He's one of the great members of the Avengers. You know, one of the founding members. So he absolutely has to be there in the cinematic universe. But a lot happened, like you said. This was a really pivotal movie because I mean, War Machine is now you know, recovering. Nobody knows what's gonna happen with him. Black Panther has, you know, switched sides, unbeknownst to the government, and is hiding Bucky, you know, and probably going to be using Wakanda as a base of operations for Cap's covert team, the New Avengers, and which I hope we get to see a little bit of that is explored in the Black Panther movie. I would like to see, you know, maybe a little Cap cameo or something like that.
Yeah, this movie was definitely a bigger setup for Infinity Wars than Avengers 2. Like, really, in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Yeah, I really agree with that.
Now, speaking of Black Panther, what did you guys think about it? What did you guys think about Chadwick Boseman, who played Black Panther? What did you think of him?
I'm a huge Black Panther fan. Always have been, always will be. T'Challa is one of the smartest characters in the Marvel Universe, and he absolutely deserves all the pedigree that they gave him in this movie. And I make this comparison all the time, and I really do believe it. I think that if you compare the Avengers to the Justice League, and you're trying to find a Batman, people always try to go to Iron Man, but I'm like, really? The only thing you can compare that to is they have money. But Black Panther really has a very similar sort of, I think, fighting style as Batman. He has the resources that Batman has, perhaps even more.
Yeah, he has more of a support group, at least.
He's the king of a country, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I mean,
he has the Batman-esque qualities that they even show in Civil War. I mean, there was a Panther plane. Can we talk about that? I mean, like, he just had a plane that just came out of nowhere that was flying stealthily under the radar in the clouds.
Yeah, the Flying Panther. Yeah.
Like, it was that was the most Batman thing he could have done, was just leave everybody else and totally get in the
He went all
Batwing
Batman on the situation.
and just kind of fly under the radar and be right there at the end, the only one who actually confronted the real villain. They did a great job with Black Panther. They brought all the qualities that he had, and
He went through personal growth like big time, more than a
Big
lot of
time.
other characters.
had been wondering during the production of Civil War how they were going to do this, because I knew, I mean, Black Panther always truly becomes Black Panther when he becomes the king of Wakanda, and he always has to witness his father's death. That is a must for Black Panther. He has to witness his father's death and become the king of Wakanda in order to truly be Black Panther. And they did that. I felt like going into the movie it was going to be rushed, but it really wasn't. It felt like it just was an unfortunate casualty of Zemo's war on the Avengers, which
I don't think, yeah.
And it just, it worked. It flowed.
I don't think nothing felt truly rushed in this
Yeah, it
film.
really did.
I thought it flowed together
I was gonna say,
almost. Yeah.
You
Perfect.
mentioned earlier, Kyle, that there were so many characters in the movie, and that was a big worry for all of us going in to see it. Is like, how are they going to put all this into a movie? And they
Yeah, because
surprised us.
Batman v Superman. But, maybe it's...
Exactly.
Yeah.
We saw it, and it all just flowed. It all worked perfectly. They wrote it all so well, and they still managed to keep all those characters, which was awesome.
Yeah, because Batman v Superman was a bloated mess, and we called it.
Yeah.
And Civil War had almost 2 to 3 times more characters in it than Batman v Superman. So you're kind of thinking, what the heck?
Really?
But it came together so good.
Yeah, and well, speaking of the new characters, we have a couple that we want to talk about. We just talked about Black Panther. We have to talk about Spider-Man and Zemo. But what we should talk about is the Vision, because this is the first real movie where the Vision is a character from start to finish. And
True.
They portrayed him a little strange. I mean, we've all seen the memes, the jokes. He has the hots for Scarlet Witch. And it's kind of true. Like, it really is a thing in this movie. It's not a joke, really. Like, he definitely has a thing for her, and he even says it to he even says it to Iron Man when he's like, what happened? And he says, I got distracted. He's like, I thought you weren't supposed to be able to get distracted. And he's like, that's what I thought, but I was looking at her. I was distracted.
Think about it this way: Scarlet Witch in this MCU gained her powers through the use of an Infinity Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Vision himself was created through the use of an Infinity Stone. Do you think maybe he senses that within her without actually realizing it, and that draws him to her? Maybe.
Very possible. Very possible. I mean, there's a lot. They are classically doing things in the MCU relationship-wise that just don't even exist comic book-wise. Like this whole Black Widow, Bruce Banner thing. Now they're throwing a Vision, Scarlet Witch thing. It's people haven't really ever done this. It's very interesting to see where they go with it.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear in my own situations that people did not really know who Agent 13 was going into this film. Like, I know a lot of people who was like, who is that? Even my cousin.
That I find that very, very odd. But I mean,
yeah, and they felt it was rushed a relationship when during the Winter Soldier they go through a lot, and that's what we get here.
Yeah, I mean they have a pretty thorough relationship, and plus Agent 13 and Captain America absolutely get together in the comic books. I mean, she's actually the one who kills him in Civil War. So I know they really hung us comic book fans out to dry for a little bit here before this movie, because just the way that it looked like Chris Evans was gonna die. That's the way that it looked before it came out. It just, he hadn't been signed on for any more movies. Agent Carter was returning to be in this movie. There was already rumored that there was going to be a death in the movie. We were like, oh God, this is gonna be
There were 2 deaths rumored. Somebody that worked on set came out and said that there were 2 death scenes that were recorded.
Interesting.
And, I mean, that's what I thought interesting when there was only 1 in the movie.
Yeah, they seem to flip a switch right there. Cap's all well and good, and he's creating this new team again, so it's all good.
Cap is always going to create a new team of Avengers, whether that's the Secret Avengers, the New Avengers. Like, Cap is always going to have a team around him.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's just Bucky or just Falcon or Bucky and Falcon, that, like, he will always have a team because he is
not Hydra.
Captain America. Let's not talk about that.
Not Hydra.
That could be discussed in a later episode.
Yeah, sure.
But speaking of Hydra, that would bring us pretty well to Zemo. It's odd. It was an odd portrayal of Zemo. Very different from the comic books.
It was very pre Super Soldier Serum.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the Zemo that we all immediately recognized with the comic book character with the purple mask and the sword and everything that makes him Zemo. They didn't give us that, which I felt was odd.
Well, it was kind of a departure from regular supervillains in movies, how they're just all diabolical and everything. And here it's just like it's just a guy, who's
just a guy who outsmarted people. That's all it was.
And I agree. I really agree with that, Jesse. And I thought that the ending was poetic when he brought the gun up to his head, but Black Panther saved him, and I think that Black Panther is going to live to regret that decision.
Oh God!
Yeah, well, yeah, we felt for him, and that's what good. That's how you do a good villain, right there.
Because Baron Zemo is not even Baron Zemo yet. He is just a man, and he has already clearly learned all of this information about Hydra. He was reading all of those encrypted Hydra files online from Winter Soldier. And then he got the Soviet Red Book, which he read extensively. So he's pretty much like he has gained in this whole movie. He gains all this knowledge, and then has the experience of almost fracturing the Avengers permanently, which he didn't at the end of the day because Cap won. If Iron Man had won, I do think the Avengers would have been fractured permanently because Iron Man was going to hold nothing back. And Captain America obviously did.
Yeah.
But Zemo now, he has this experience. He has this under his belt. All it's going to take is Hydra breaking him out and installing him as their new Baron, and he's ready to start making Adhesive X, and we're ready to see Zemo become Zemo. Now, I don't know if that'll happen, but they've left it open to where it can happen.
Do you think possibly a return for Cap 4 later on down the road, 2-3 years after Infinity Wars? Do you think possibly a Zemo breakout, come out, he's got the purple mask and all that?
I would love that, personally, as a huge Zemo fan. He's my favorite Cap villain, so I would love that, but I'm not sure that it fits into the MCU the way that they want to put it together.
Or even getting a Cap 4?
Well, they said initially that there was no way Robert Downey Jr. would ever do an Iron Man 4, and now all of a sudden he's saying he wants to do one. So, I mean, we really have no idea. It's just whatever's going to happen.
Yeah, it's whatever Marvel wants to do at this point.
Yeah, really. If Kevin Feige decides that, hey, let's do a Cap 4, then there'll be a Cap 4.
Yeah.
Now, plus, we have to see Sebastian Stan or Falcon don the red, white, and blue. We still have to see that.
That would be interesting. But
I'd be a little mad.
We'll get to our individual ratings. Tom Holland, what do we think?
Perfect Spider-Man.
Perfect Spider-Man.
That's all there is to be said about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he did a great job. He really portrayed who Peter Parker is characteristically. Plus, they added a little MCU touch. Now he apparently collects retro tech. I don't know why that's important, but apparently he does.
This is the Spider-Man we always wanted.
That's going to come in handy in Homecoming. He's going to do something involving an old computer, and it's going to save
found an Apple II. Steve Jobs came back to haunt me. It's a whole story.
That's an interesting end credit scene that we get to see with Spider-Man see when he discovers this whole operating system that Tony's built into the suit, where I mean, who knows what where that can go. I mean,
The Iron Spider, calling it.
I would love to see an Iron Spider. Tony Stark is already rumored to be in Homecoming. I wouldn't put it past him to be in the next Spider-Man either. So I can't wait. I think Homecoming's probably going to be one of the great MCU movies. I mean, Michael Keaton's already on board. I think we got rumors that Donald Glover might be Miles Morales, or he at least end the movie.
He's in the movie. He's confirmed in the movie. He's in the cast.
If he was playing Miles Morales, I would go crazy, right?
It would be very interesting because Miles Morales is supposed to be younger than Spider-Man, but it would be an interesting
He's definitely
touch.
older.
I mean, he's already tried out for the role of Spider-Man before, so clearly he has interest in being a web slinger.
I mean, he is the perfect Black Spider-Man. I think we can all agree.
But I mean, it's a good relationship. I think that they have, Tony and Spider-Man. They really established that well.
It's gonna be he's gonna be like a father figure, like immediately to Spider-Man in these movies. I could think that's what they're building up.
Yep.
He looks at Cap as a role model, but the father figure will definitely fall to Tony.
Which
I would agree
that
with
would stand well that would stand with the comics. I mean, Tony Stark is his mentor. Tony Stark. He
makes him an Avenger.
He does. He does. Iron Man's the one who wants to bring Spider-Man into the fold. It's not Cap. Although Cap is, obviously on board with it, and Cap loves to work with Spider-Man. He appreciates his work, and he knows of him. But
yeah,
Spider-Man would love to train with Captain America. But Spider-Man wants to solve a very intense nuclear equation with Tony Stark.
Peter Parker wants to hang out with Tony Stark.
Yes,
Spider-Man wants to hang out.
That's the best way to put it right there.
There you go.
All right, so out of 5 stars, Kyle, what are you going to give Captain America Civil War?
I'm gonna say that Winter Soldier is still better, but I will give it the same score as I would give Winter Soldier. I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Okay, Jesse.
I would also give it a 4.5. I teeter on if Winter Soldier is a 5 or 4, just in terms of the MCU. If we're just talking MCU, the Winter Soldier would be a 5. And I would also, I would say 4.5 for Civil War. I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could give it any lower of a score if I've seen it 5 times.
Yeah, no.
You kind of need to.
I kind of have to.
I guess it's 4.5 around the board. That's what I would give it. We all seem to agree on the same point. Winter Soldier was better. This movie was still fantastic, though.
Is that the first time that we have gone across the board?
I think, it's the first time we unanimously agreed.
Usually we're off by 0.5.
I think yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, we've been Gentlemen Critics. I hope you guys have enjoyed our video. This has been us reviewing Captain America Civil War. See you next time.